year ago, 10 gunmen launched a devastating attack on Mumbai, India's financial capital. During the three-day rampage, almost 200 people were killed and many more were injured. In the aftermath of the attacks, India's security forces came under fire for their slow response. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. On this edition of 101 East, we ask if the Mumbai attacks could have been prevented and if any lessons have been learned. Mumbai Central Railway Station was just one of the targets in the November 26 terror attacks last year. Since then, a raft of measures have been promised to improve India's security forces. But as Howell Davis reports, doubts are still lingering as to whether this nation is better prepared to deal with terrorism.
One of the world's largest cities, home to more than 17 million people. Mumbai is India's fast-paced commercial capital. That came to an abrupt halt on the 26th of November last year. 10 heavily armed men landed by sea on a nearby beach and proceeded to attack targets across the city.
You had, simultaneous waves of attacks. We had, random and indiscriminate firing at crowded places, at iconic locations. You had bomb blasts occurring in and around the vicinity of the place. They had hostage situations.
For those caught up in the violence, it was a shattering experience.
And we hear a loud explosion. And then from upstairs the window we could see a black smoke rising. The explosion was a hand grenade that was thrown inside. When we came down, it was like a war zone. There were so many people that were wounded. There were so many people that were dead.
The gunmen attacked mainly crowded sites in the heart of the city. Among them, Mumbai's main train station, a nearby hospital and a Jewish centre, a popular cafe and two of the city's top hotels. Even before the last gun had fallen silent in Mumbai, questions began to be asked about the response of the Indian security forces. How could 10 men hold an entire city hostage for almost 60 hours? The poor training and poor equipment of the Mumbai police gives a partial answer. Many of those who first responded to the attacks were ordinary constables, armed with sticks or World War II era rifles. No match for the attackers' AK-47 machine guns.
There was two constables that came, one with a rifle and one with a stick. And as soon as the terrorists saw upon them, fired upon them, the guy with the rifle was injured. His colleague picked him up and took him away in the police van that they came in. So what do you expect the police to do with lathis, that is the stick that they carry, and the antique rifles that they carry?
The attacks on iconic locations like the city's train station and the Taj Hotel saw 166 people killed. The bravery of ordinary police at this time is not in doubt. One of the gunmen was captured when an officer seized his machine gun. The policeman was shot dead, but his actions enabled other unarmed officers to arrest the attacker.
He would never back down in the line of duty. He was always in the front line, but we never imagined that something like this could happen to our father.
India's National Security Guards, the NSG, are its elite anti-terrorism force. They took over the fight against the gunmen when they eventually arrived in Mumbai, but they were slow to reach the city. They lacked their own transport and had to wait several hours for an aircraft to fly them from their base near Delhi.
Unfortunately, the NSG's coming in was delayed considerably in the case of Mumbai because the aircrafts that were meant to lift them had gone on some other duty to Chandigarh, which is 3 hours away from Delhi. And therefore, by the time the aircraft could be mustered, brought in, pick up these troops, move them to Mumbai, a delay of about 10 to 12 hours took place.
Some, in the police at least, say they've been taught vital lessons.
One learns from experience. It is after such an incident takes place that you learn from it. Now we are much better prepared when it comes to equipment, when it comes to training, when it comes to mental preparedness. We are much better off. At that time, one did not anticipate that they would be lobbing hand grenades, they would be firing indiscriminately.
But India has seen gunmen assault iconic locations before. In 2001, a group armed with assault rifles and grenades attacked Parliament in Delhi, killing 14 people. India blamed Lashkar-e-Taiba, the same group thought to have been behind the Mumbai attacks. While Mumbai has faced multiple bomb attacks itself. In 1993, at least 250 people died in a series of blasts. In 2003, more than 50 were killed when bombs in 2 taxis detonated. While as recently as 2006, at least 187 people were killed in a series of bombings on trains in the city. The failure to see Mumbai as a possible target for gunmen, despite the previous bombings and the Delhi attack, has been strongly criticised. What makes it worse is that intelligence was received that an attack on the city was likely.
There was no action based on the signals which were clearly coming from Pakistan. It reflects some kind of a lack of coordination between those who are interpreting these signals and those who are supposed to act in response to these signals.
Such problems are compounded by the multitude of intelligence agencies in India. Coordination between them has been patchy at best.
Well, there are just too many of them and they don't cooperate. Everyone's guarding their turfs of interest. You have the research and analysis wing, which is raw. It refuses to acknowledge it exists. You have the intelligence bureau. You have the CID. You have the joint services intelligence. You have the defense intelligence agencies. You have state police intelligence. And you have a whole plethora of other agencies which have since 26/11 sprung up. And everyone's guarding their turf of interest. And everyone's trying to be first with the information and put it perhaps on the Prime Minister's table to get kudos. But that really doesn't help the cause of the common man.
There have been significant improvements to security since last year. Armed police now patrol the city's main train station, while the NSG now has troops stationed in Mumbai. But on the city's trains, themselves the object of bomb attacks just 3 years ago, there's scepticism about such measures.
No, we're not happy with the government. We're not happy. They are not beefed up the security scene. Definitely, people are scared to go to public places than earlier.
A lot of people are unhappy. Government can do a lot more. Even the explosions that just happened, the government response was slow.
What makes the threat of another attack even more dangerous is the effect on India's relations with Pakistan. The lone surviving attacker in Mumbai quickly revealed that he was from Pakistan and that he'd been trained and armed there. India says that training was provided by the militant group Lashkar-e-Taiba. It's called for Pakistan to charge Hafiz Mohammed Saeed, who they say is the group's leader. Pakistan has refused, saying it needs more evidence.
Unfortunately, we have not been receiving enough information. You know, when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh made a statement that they were fearing another Mumbai-like attack, we took it very seriously because he's a very serious man, and we have no doubt on his honesty and his sincerity. But they have to come out with information.
That's hurt relations between the two countries. Both have hundreds of thousands of troops massed along their border, and both have nuclear weapons. In the event of another attack, already strained relations could be stretched to breaking point.
Nuclear weapons have figured in the rhetoric. I hope they have not figured in the decision-making processes and thoughts of the senior leaders, but they have certainly figured in the rhetorics of very senior opinion makers. And these rhetorics on both sides, and I'm not only suggesting the Pakistanis are the only ones to be blamed.
The danger is that if another Mumbai-style attack comes, India may feel obliged to respond militarily. And that could lead to a situation that rapidly spirals out of control, making last year's carnage seem small-scale in comparison.
This week, 101 East comes to you from the Leopold Cafe in Mumbai, India. Last November 26th, this was one of the establishments that was targeted in a 3-day terrorist rampage right across the city. Joining us now is former Mumbai Police Commissioner Julio Roberto. Thank you very much for being with us today. And security analyst Matrof Raza. Gentlemen, 1 year on from those attacks, has Mumbai learned its lessons? Is it prepared for another attack if they were to happen?
If you ask me about the police, they certainly are much more prepared than they were last time because they were taken by surprise. This time I don't think they would be taken by surprise. And though people do not know it, many things have happened after that. Their equipment has improved, their training has improved, the number of people assigned to this particular task, that has increased. But about the people, the citizens to which I now belong, I know that in the beginning they were very concerned and they were very angry, but now I feel that they have forgotten about it. They've got back to work, and you know, the resilience of people of this city is quite substantial. It's quite legendary.
I just want to put in a couple of other points. One is that, you see, terrorist attacks by their very nature do not get repeated at the same place in the same way. So they will probably happen in another place where the impact would be higher. In the case of Bombay, I think what has happened that the citizens of Mumbai are certainly more aware of the nastiness of terrorist attacks, but I think there is still a lot to be done in terms of creating greater public consciousness on how you must respond. London is a classic example of a city, a big city, which has learned its lessons and is always on the alert. And in terms of the police and security forces also, a lot of steps that have been taken are superficial. I think a lot more needs to be done in terms of creating in them a mindset to fight a terrorist like a terrorist.
I absolutely agree with this mindset business. I have to mention that because soon after this happened, you know, the police would have been blamed. They would have taken the brunt of people's anger. But because many of their men died, they, and very senior men also, very well respected, two of them were very well respected. And then people's anger turned towards the politicians. But now, I think that the police were sort of wallowing in that, you know, in pride.
Do you think now the mindset has changed?
I don't think so, because when I see the men on the road, I think that there is much scope to have their mindset, to always be alert.
A better part of the resources are still going to protect a handful of VIPs than the people, the monuments that make Mumbai special. You know, unless that happens, and that is all part of the mindset change. Everybody is important in the nation's fight against terrorism.
We'll hold that thought for a while and we will take a break. When we come back, we'll have more on Mumbai's security preparedness. Stay tuned to 101 East.